down at the park, it's time to turn on the lights, because the Danbury Westerners are playing tonight. They'll be swinging their bats and they'll be hitting home runs. It's a night of excitement and family fun. Westy helps everybody cheer on the team as the crowd snacks on popcorn and delicious ice cream. On a warm summer night, you know it's always a treat. Westerners baseball, sing the canopy beat. Everybody knows the score. The fans are screaming out for more. Excitement builds on through the night, as victory is soon in sight. The runner advances as he heads for home plate. Rounding the bases, there will be no debate. When the last run is in, the fans will proclaim the Danbury Westerners have won the game.
Welcome to the Danbury Westerners podcast with your host, Christian Gardecki. Hello everyone and welcome to the Danbury Westerners podcast. I am your host, Christian Gardecki, and we welcome you here to episode 3 of our podcast. We had a little hiatus during the holiday season. We hope you had a great holiday season and the beginning of the new year. We're finally in 2021, and just around the corner here in February is June. And June means Danbury Westerners baseball is coming back. And today we'll be talking about Danbury Westerners 2021 season, as we'll have the Assistant General Manager of the Danbury Westerners, Alex Giobbi, joining us in just a little bit, talking about the 2021 Danbury Westerners roster. We'll be revealing the roster right here, showing you all the new names and the familiar names you may know from the Danbury area or past Westerner teams, as well as recap a little bit the former Westerners playing the first college games of the season, as the college baseball season has opened up this weekend as we're recording this. And it is exciting to see what all the Westerners are doing. But we'll talk about all the new guys, all the old guys with Alex Giobbi here on the podcast later today, as we get to find out and tell you who will be on the Danbury Westerners in 2021 and what you may see at Rogers Park this year, and if anything will change, and the state of the NECBL and the Westerners right now as we speak. All that and coming up more with the Assistant General Manager of the Danbury Westerners, Alex Giobbi, coming up. Danbury Westerners Baseball is brought to you by our championship sponsors: Bill and Carol Poland Endowment Fund, City of Danbury, Danbury Parks and Rec, Fairfield County Bank, Family and Children's Aid, Hat City Physical Therapy, and the Schaefer family. Thank you to our championship sponsors of the Danbury Westerners. Hello everyone and welcome back here to the Danbury Westerners podcast. I'm Christian Gardecki, the Director of Media Relations for the Danbury Westerners here on the Westerners YouTube and SoundCloud, and I have a very special guest with us here, the Assistant General Manager of the Danbury Westerners, Alex Giobbi. Alex, how's it going?
Doing well, Christian. How are you doing?
Good. Just a sleepy Sunday afternoon here in Connecticut. I know you're down in the New York area right now, and we have some big news to go. The 2021 Danbury Westerners roster.
Yep. Oh, and just for clarity purposes, I'm actually the Director of Player Personnel.
Director of Player Personnel, yes. I did know that, and I said that earlier in my earlier takes, but I didn't know if that was what was one of your titles. So yeah, Alex is the Director of Player Personnel, and we're gonna go through the 2021 Danbury Westerners roster here, player by player. And first, we're gonna start by mentioning our coaching staff. Ian Ratchford is going to be in his first full season as a Westerners manager, and he has Connor Farrell, Bobby Rodriguez, and Dean White, who's returning for his second season as assistant coach on the roster. And Alex, first talking about Ian, how important is it to have him back, a guy who's from the area and is a Westerner through and through?
I've had the opportunity to get to know Ian the past couple of years, and Ian is a great guy. I really wish I could have met him as a player. I came in actually as an intern the year after he played. But what I've gotten from him is that he's a really down-to-earth guy. He coaches the right way. He really is focused on bringing the best out of you. And all in all, I think that he is one of the, if not the missing links in getting us into the NECBL playoffs and potentially getting us a title.
Yeah, and now speaking of the NECBL this year, obviously you're right. Ian is a great guy. I got to know him before the Westerners, and I got to know him the last couple of years on the road. I'm going up all over New England. But speaking of the NECBL, what is the plan right now for the NECBL on a possible start in June? And if there's any information you can share to the listeners here.
Well, I've spoken with Chris, our general manager. He's informed me that we are operating on the assumption that the season is going to start. A schedule should be released soon. We're just waiting on one little thing, which I can't really go into any further details about.
All right, so that's good news for Western fans to hopefully have you guys back at Rogers Park. I think I'll admit this, and I hope I'm not saying anything wrong here, but Rogers Park is kind of a socially distanced park as it was before the pandemic, so that will probably help us out in the long run. But now we go to the roster. We're going to start with the returning players. There are 7 returning players who played in the 2019 Danbury Westerners roster, and we're going to start alphabetical here by pitchers. I'm going to start by someone that we had in our first episode here. We had Christian Gardecki, and we already mentioned then he is coming back. And, for Christian, it's a new look for him. He's now at Bryant University, instead of St. Thomas Aquinas. How important is it for us to have Christian Gardecki, who is a great personality, and he's grown as a person, grown as a pitcher for the last couple of years?
Well, I think you said it yourself. He's a great personality. He's like an emotional leader, I think. If you saw the documentary, you saw how much he legitimately cared about his time in Danbury, how much he cared about his experience. And, I'm proud of him for making the jump to D1. He's going to a great program. Ted Hervel is a fantastic pitching coach who we've worked with for years now. And I think he's going to be a great left-handed pitcher out of the Bryant bullpen. I think that he pitches angry. He's a tremendous kid. And honestly, we learned a lot about him in 2019. And, we were really glad to bring him back into the fold. And we're glad that, he's doing it as a Division I starter at a great Northeastern program.
Yeah, I know he was one of those guys that was supposed to come back last year, but obviously because of the pandemic got pushed back. So he's now here. He'll be a junior. He's a sophomore right now at Bryant. He'll be a junior when he's a Danbury Westerner. The next guy on our list here is a guy who I think has improved a lot from his time with the Westerners. He's also got that sick flow if you see him on Instagram now, and that's Joe Vale. And I think Joe Vale, local guy, is going to be a senior. He's a junior right now at Lemoyne. He's going to be a senior when he's a Westerner. And I think he's another guy who's going to be a leader on that ball club. What can you say about Joe?
Joe is a tremendous swingman asset for us in 2019, starting off as a bullpen guy and then, moving to the rotation when we started to drop, when a lot of pitchers started to drop. So to have a guy with that experience and a guy who, can be is incredibly versatile, at least in our context, I think it's great to have him back. I think that he's definitely going to be definitely that veteran presence in that rotation and that bullpen that we need for the newcomers that are, coming in later on.
Joe's another guy that fans got to know really well during the 2019 season. He would come up in the press box He was on a couple of broadcasts with Kronberg, and he also got to take my job for a couple times during that season in the PA box. Next, we're going to move to catchers now. And we got here a guy who – there's a new rule in the NECBL this year. Alex, can you explain the rule on military players?
Okay, so there are 5 service academies, and the rule basically states that all NECBL teams have 2 roster spots which do not count against the roster, which can be used towards those service academy kids. So whether it's Army, Navy, Air Force, Merchant Marine, Coast Guard, you can have 2 of those kids. And we decided to bring back Cam Ceruto. He was a catcher for us in June of 2019, gave us a good power boost at that time, especially, and was he was a godsend, especially considering our catcher situation before Sonny arrived. Yep. I mean, we were trotting out Jake Curtis like every day, and the kid needed a break. So Ceruto was at an absolute need at that point.
You're right. And Cam, another guy who I really got to know well. And if you look in the documentary, Cam got the team a sword. We went up to, I wasn't on this trip, but we went up to New Hampshire and Maine, and Cam went up there and bought, I think it was like a $35 sword and nunchucks combo, which was a lot of fun. And Cam is a good guy. I mean, he's fun. And when he came to the Westerners that first week when we were up in Vermont, he drove up from Torrington, where he's from, came up and hit a home run in his first game for the Westerners in a big ballpark, relatively big for the NECBL in Vermont. And he was huge, you know, him and Jay back and forth. And then he was here a little bit when Sonny was here. So having those 3 guys, and obviously Jay now is having a solid start with Dayton, and Sonny is the starting guy at University of Rhode Island. Now we're going to move down to the infielders, and we got one returning player there, a guy who was basically I guess we'll say a hero for the Westerners on opening night. A guy you know well from his time at Fairfield Prep, a New Canaan native, Hamilton College junior right now. He'll be a senior, Matt Zaffino. And Matt's a guy, you know, who fans got to know really well over the summer as well. And he hit that walk-off home run on opening night, which you can see here on the Westerners YouTube channel. We have the video of that. Tell us about how we got Matt back with the Westerners, and, you know, what he means to this team and the type of player he is and how he's improved, because he's improved a lot from when he first came.
There's one thing that I can say about Matt Zaffino. It's that the guy's a grinder. He will do everything that you ask of him and more. He's got a tremendous stick. I mean, he could definitely try and settle into a position, but what we see of him, and the way that I think of him, he's like a Jeff McNeil type, the type of guy who you can plug in anywhere, and his bat will definitely provide value in that lineup. I feel that Zaffino is a good kid. I was honestly glad that we were he was brought to my attention by Joe Mancini last year. Yeah. Well, actually 2019, because Joe told me, hey, I got this kid for you. And, you know, he's also a prep grad, and I'm a prep grad myself.
Yes. Yep.
So you know, obviously I'd like to try and give opportunities to, you know, prep kids who are who have legitimate shots at, you know, making contributions both in the college and potentially the pro baseball landscape. And Zaff turned out to be a low-key good ad for us. I mean, most of that summer, a good amount of that summer, he was actually leading the league in batting average, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, he was. Yep. He was very impressive. I think a lot of that came, you know, when he first came in on that opening night, and you remember this too, he came in, ball was hit to him in the 9th inning when he was in left field, and the ball went under his glove. He missed it. But he comes back up, and you can see this in the documentary as well. Comes back up, comes to bat. Westerners get a run, and he hits a walk-off home run on opening night, which really was a catalyst to a lot of the success the team had that first week of the season. You know, that first week, the Danbury Westerners went 4-0 to start the year for the second time in about 4 years, and Matt was a huge piece to that. Yeah.
I think the word you're looking for, actually the phrase you're looking for, is cult hero.
Yes, cult hero. That's what I was thinking of. Thank you, Alex. And next we have 2 more players here on our returning players. Next guy is a guy who was just added fairly recently to the roster, but he is the guy who is another local guy. I can't believe this, but he's going to be a senior when he's a Westerner, which is hard to believe since he was a sophomore to start, and he's only like a year ahead of me, or a year older than me, and that's Justin Jordan. And JJ was one of the regular guys we saw day in, day out in 2019, and you know his family is great, love his family. Local guy who really entails the spirit of being a Danbury Westerner. What can you attest to him coming back?
I can honestly say I was honestly surprised that JJ got back. The kid deserves to be in the Cape Cod League, if not.
Yeah, I agree too. Yeah.
I mean, JJ, I remember the day that I first saw JJ play. And this was like in 2019, going down to Fordham. Kid absolutely was running around center field. He was insanely good. And I happened to run into Billy Jordan, his dad. And Billy's a great guy. And all in all, I came away from this thinking to myself, we got to get this kid at some point. And as it happened when we needed outfielders, we lucked into getting him. And, Bobby Valentine, who's the AD at Sacred Heart, for any Mets fan who remembers, that's Mets manager.
That Bobby Valentine.
Yes, that Bobby Valentine. But Bobby Valentine has spoken effusively of JJ's talent. He is a legitimately good player. He has pro potential, and he's a spark plug. He's a great runner. He's a great hitter. He can pitch, though we didn't really get the opportunity to see that. But I think he's a pro center fielder. The kid is great, and I'm happy to have him back on that roster.
And now there's one last player here, and yes, you say Justin can pitch. I talked to him a little bit about that, but they didn't really want to use him. But now we got one last player here, and this guy who's making a lot of news around the world of college baseball in some extent. He hit the first home run of the season yesterday for the Louisville Cardinals. And that's a guy by the name of Cam Masterman, who we saw play first base and the outfield. This year, he's more their starting right fielder for the Cardinals. And left fielder, yep. And obviously, I think he's one of those guys that you're shocked that is right now not in the Cape or not even drafted. And right now, currently, he's on the roster. There could be a chance. Tell us about Cam.
Cam has really shown growth since he came to us. He's one of those Louisville guys that, he'll be a late contributor. And we've seen these guys, and I've seen these guys, pop up in the NECBL before. Cam, I think, is the one thing that I like about him the most is the fact that he's a patient hitter. He's a really patient hitter. And that's like one thing that we've definitely learned about him. He's got tremendous pop. And if he continues to hit the way that he did on Saturday, and he absolutely beat the tar out of that baseball.
Yeah.
I think that I'm not sure if he'd make it here, because with the tournament and then the draft in July, but we'll see. Like I said, Cam is a great player. He's a good kid and tremendous character, and I am glad that he was the start of us recruiting from Louisville.
Yeah, and that's really helped out the team. As now we're gonna go back to the pitchers, but to continue on Cam, he's a guy who never really been to the Northeast other than playing baseball, and he really liked it here in the Danbury area, if you ask me. And it was very good to have him back. So now we're gonna go to the pitchers of the newer players. We're gonna start with a junior who's a current sophomore at the University of Houston, a native of Las Vegas, Nevada, Josh Brown.
Yeah. Give me 1 second. Yeah.
Well, go ahead.
Sorry about that. I'm kind of eating lunch while doing this, but So Josh was kind of a late ad. I've been trying to get Houston on our relationship list for a while since starting doing recruiting, and he's from a junior college powerhouse called the College of Southern Nevada. You might know it because that's where Bryce Harper went.
Right. Yep.
We got drafted first overall. Josh is another swingman type. At least that's what Coach Terry Rooney told me when we added him. He can get up to 93, and he's got a good pitch arsenal. I had heard that he was going to be their closer. He was going to get a lot of innings out of the bullpen. So I'm hoping to see a lot more of him this spring. And really, that's all that I can say about him without, making anything up.
Yeah, and he's a very interesting player. Obviously, you just said he's going to close this year for Houston. That's something that I think you should really look at because, in the past couple of years in the NECBL especially, you don't really see an exact closer. I think for this year, if you see Josh Brown come into Danbury as an exact closer and keep the innings low to some extent, you can see him here the full year.
Mm-hmm.
All right, next up we got another guy from out west. He's a native of Temecula, California. We just got a new relationship with this school as well, from what I see. Long Beach State College, the Dirt Dogs, Dirt Dogs, right? Or Dirt Bags? I don't remember which one it is.
It's Long Beach State, Cal State Long Beach or Long Beach State.
Yep.
And it's the Dirt Bags.
The Dirt Bags. I knew there was something like that. A guy by the name of 5'10", 195, Ethan Clough. Tell us a little bit about Ethan.
Ethan Clough, that's his name. First off, let me just give you a little clarity. Long Beach State isn't actually a new relationship, so to speak. It's just it's a quote-unquote upgrade over the St. Mary's College relationship that we.
Okay. Yep.
Because Eric Valenzuela and his coaching staff got the Long Beach State job, and if you saw what happened last year with Long Beach State, they absolutely, they actually surprised everybody before COVID shut everything down. But Ethan, he's a bullpen guy. He's a pint-sized rocket of a kid. The way that I think the best way that I can describe him, and this is it's probably going to fly over a lot of people's heads, but when I think of him, I think of former University of Oregon pitcher and former Arizona Diamondbacks reliever Jimmy Sherfy. Like, the kid kind of has that energy and that hair. And I think that Ethan is a tremendous bullpen guy. I think he's going to be a good bullpen contributor for us. And, I'm hoping that he makes it up to Danbury. I think he'd be a tremendous, asset to this pitching staff.
Yeah, I just saw his hair there, looking him up here. Kind of reminiscent of, I guess, because I'm a Mets fan, I'm going to take it as a Met always. Kind of reminiscent as a red-haired version of Robert Gesellman without the beard. That's how I'm going to take it, with the hair in some ways. But that's Ethan Clough, I think that's how you say it. I'll have to learn more towards the season. And next we got a Cheshire native, another one of our service players. He's a pitcher still. He is a sophomore right now at the United States Military Academy in West Point. Ben De La Belle.
Yeah. So Ben was somebody that we were looking at when we were looking at the Service Academy kids, because we decided to focus on the local kids. And Ben, from what I'd heard, is he was starting to get in. He had a tremendous season debut pitching against North Carolina Central. And I think that he's going to be a good kid for us. And really, I wish I could see him, but chances are, no public attendance. So that's going to suck. But what are you going to do?
Yeah, it's a different year in 2021 here, and a lot of schools are not really bringing fans. Although we just had a game yesterday. I think it was Arkansas and A&M. They were playing at Globe Life Park out in Arlington, and that had a lot of fans there. So that was really cool to have some fans out there. So as we continue on the pitchers here, we're going to a local guy here who a lot of people may know. He was an Immaculate High School product. He's a pitcher at Trinity College. Guy who we got to meet during our photo shoot for the Westerners uniforms, which should be out in the next couple weeks to a month. And that is Jamie Fahey, who he already has a number. He'll be wearing number 37 this year for the Danbury Westerners. Yeah,
Jimmy strikes me as the type of guy who's going to be, a Westies culture guy. I met him. He was a tremendous kid. I think that he's going to be good for us. I think he's going to be good for us on the mound, and I think he's going to be a great community kid. Somebody who's going to really be, somebody who embodies the Westies culture and who really just, improves the room around him.
Yeah, and definitely with Jimmy, and I guess you can take it a little bit as JJ Getz, another Danbury guy who came through from Danbury High School. Although Jimmy started for many years with Coach Dean White at Immaculate, so it'll be very cool to see that reunion there with Jimmy and Dean White out of Immaculate, now with the Westerners. So we continue on our look. We're staying in Division III, staying, I believe, in the NESCAC, Middlebury College, New York City native Michael Farinelli.
Barinelli is definitely pitching is definitely a pitch Division three. I haven't heard anything about whether Middlebury is playing this spring, but he is already receiving interest as a graduate transfer for Division one. For instance, I've spoken with one of our coaches. I'm not going to say who, but he says that they have him on their radar, and he's definitely one of those Division three pitchers who really shouldn't be in D3. He should be much higher.
And now we continue our look. We're going to go back to the Northeast Conference. Teammate of Justin Jordan's a Sacred Heart, a sophomore currently, will be a junior at the Westerners, a native of Bridgeport. Max Hellman, pitcher, 6'1", 220.
Hellman, I've heard a little bit about him. He's been kind of on the shelf for a bit for health reasons, but my understanding from Coach Mazzoni is that they're hoping to get him out there this spring. And I think that, Justin Jordan spoke well of him as well. And it's just a matter of seeing how he's going to do.
We continue down here. Before we take a quick little break for our advertisements in a little bit. We have a couple advertisements to play. But we continue. We go stay in Fairfield County with where the players are from. A sophomore turning into a junior at Williams College, Sean Hogan, 6'3", 200-pound pitcher.
Yep. Coach Mazzoni actually recommended him to me. And, he is tremendous. I want to say Rapsodo data. That was the thing that he sold me on. The kid can hit 93 mile an hour. So the question is, how is this kid? Because he seems like an unknown commodity. I haven't really seen much of him. But I am definitely intrigued, especially considering I'm not really usually a D3 recruiter, but like I said, definitely looking forward to seeing what he can do.
Very interesting to see these three D3 guys. We just had 3 and 4 right there, with Trinity, Middlebury, and Williams all in the same area. They all play against each other. We go back to D1, we go to the Colonial Athletic Association, where I'm very familiar with over at Hofstra. Unfortunately, I can't really go to games this year because I'm still here in Connecticut due to COVID reasons, and not just COVID, but classes are all online for those that don't know. But we just go to a guy here, Bethel, Connecticut native. We got to meet at the photo shoot. Noah Jensen from Elon University, 6'2", 200, a Bethel native.
Yeah, Noah.
He played at Canterbury, I believe, if I remember from what he told me.
Well, if that's the case. Anyway, Noah was actually brought on to us. Noah was actually brought to our attention, I should say, by Paul Schaefer. He said that Noah wanted to pitch for us, and we ended up bringing him on later on. Coach Robbie Hofstetter spoke highly of him, said he had a good fall, said he had a good tune-up before the spring. The question is what's he going to be doing this spring, but we're looking at him as somebody who can definitely be a good arm for us, and we'll just see how the spring plays out, whether he plays, whether he's redshirted or not.
And another community guy as well, because he is from Bethel, which, for those that don't really know the demographics of Danbury or geographics of Danbury, Bethel is the town to the south of, not to the south, to the west of Danbury. Southwest of Danbury is Bethel. We continue. We go back to Louisville. This guy who actually played yesterday for Louisville, Tate Quenner, who he had 2 very good innings yesterday for the Cardinals. Tell us a little bit about Tate, 6'1", 190 junior from Louisville, Kentucky.
Tate is an interesting kid. Tate Keener, he was a weekday starter, or actually he was a swingman also, according to Coach Eric Snyder. He did get some midweek starts last year before the COVID shutdown. I've seen his mechanics, very Chris Sale-like. And he really threw a lot of those Bellarmine kids off balance, yesterday. I think Tate's got a good fastball that can get up to 90 miles an hour. He's definitely more of a craft guy, and he's a lefty, of course. I'm definitely intrigued with what he can do. I think that considering all the swingmen / bullpen guys that we have, I think we're going to have a lot of length to our pitching staff. And I think Keener is one of those kids who can provide that for us.
Now, before we go to the next guy here, Tate is another guy from Louisville. How important is it every year as a scouting staff, as a staff in general, for you and Chris Nathanson, general manager of Danbury Westerners and vice president, to have multiple guys from the same school? Obviously, you have Tate and Cam Masterman, and you have a bunch of other guys from who are all together from different schools. How important is it as a staff to have multiple guys from the same school?
I mean, obviously what we want to preach is cohesion. And one of the things that I've been doing in the preseason is reaching out to kids and saying, hey, get to know your future teammates, get to know your future teammates. But obviously the one thing that you also have to put into consideration is a lot of these guys have never been to Danbury before. And, in some instances, they probably never met any of the guys on that team before. So having a little familiarity gives them at least a nice support system within a support system, which allows them to make an evaluation as to how they want to perform this summer, if they want to be a team guy and everything like that.
Well, that will wrap it up for the first part of our interview here with Alex Giobbi. We'll be right back after words from our sponsors.
The Danbury Westerners Baseball Club would like to thank all of their fans, sponsors, and volunteers for 25 fun-filled years. They wish 2020 could have been their 26th, but they're looking forward to seeing everyone at the newly renovated Rogers Park in June and July of 2021. While you're waiting for baseball to resume, please patronize their sponsors. Texas Roadhouse on Newtown Road in Danbury is open for takeout. Fairfield County Bank is available for all your personal and business banking needs. And Unlimited Signs in Brookfield will help your business cope with the new way of doing business.
Welcome back here. Thank you to our sponsors we just had on the Danbury Westerners podcast here on Westerners YouTube and SoundCloud. Make sure you follow us on the Westerners Twitter page at DANB Westerners, as well as on Instagram. That's the same follow. And Danbury Westerners Baseball on Facebook for all the latest Danbury Westerners news. I know Bill Geider is doing a great job with birthdays of past players and telling us about all the past players we've had throughout the last 26 years of Danbury Westerners baseball. Now we continue here. We're back on the pitchers. We're in the last half of the pitchers here. We're going to go with the Stanford native. He is a sophomore going into a junior year when he joins the Westerners. 6'5", 215, right-handed pitcher, John McDonald.
Yeah, so John was somebody who we had targeted at as early as his freshman season. Because we were trying to really take advantage of that stacked 2018 Connecticut graduate class, and we didn't get him, but we had. But when Ted Hervel came to Bryan, we found that it made it a lot easier to get him. John is JMac, as he's called, is he's out of the bullpen, but they are trying to get him some starting innings and. He's a good kid. He's a really fantastic pitcher. At least that's what I've heard from Christian Gardecki. And I think that he's going to be a valuable arm for us. And I'm hoping that we can get some good starting innings out of him as well.
Now you mentioned how you talked to all of our current or our former players who are either coming back or played for us in the past. How important is it as a staff to get knowledge from let's say Christian Gardecki at Bryant about his teammates who you might be scouting, or there's a guy we have coming up here who's coming from Georgetown. How we have like Eddie McCabe tell us about him. How important is that to have all these former players tell you about these guys?
It's important because they're the ones who have played with them, and they're the ones who are going to say, this is somebody who is going to be good for you, or this is somebody who isn't going to be good for you. And, obviously it's up to the coach and it's up to us to kind of come to an agreement as to who's going to be coming to Danbury. But having that, extra bit of information is really beneficial for us, because it makes things just that much less complicated in terms of, okay, what's this guy gonna bring to us?
Now we go back on to schools where former Westerners have played. Teammate of Joe Vales at Lemoyne College. He's a senior from the Binghamton area in Chittenango. Jacob Mazer, 6'1", lefty, 210.
Jacob is definitely more of somebody that Chris knows better because Chris's relationship is Lemoyne. It's not mine. So you're better off asking him. But from what I understand, he's been hyped up as probably the next big Lemoyne arm. In the lines of Josiah Gray and Ryan Murphy. But I think that if he's going to be a starter for us, fantastic. Those D2 kids generally have that competitive mentality when they come up here because they want to prove that they can compete with the best of the best.
Go back down. We go back to Rhode Island. We go back to Bryant, a Fairfield native. He's a junior, going to be a senior at the Westerners. Lefty, 5'10", 175, Michael Randazzo.
Michael Randazzo, he was somebody who he kind of came about as a result of Fairfield University, incidentally. I don't know if you remember Mike Sansone, who pitched for Newport. Kid absolutely was legitimately good.
Westerners killer. I remember that 2018 Westerners killer.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, when I spoke to Ted the first time that I recruited him in 2020, I said to him, I see this guy as our Mike Sansone. And Ted was absolutely on board with that. And depending on who you speak to, Randazzo is going to be a key part of that Bryant bullpen. And I think that he's going to be a major part of that Bryant bullpen, I should say. And I think that he's going to be tremendous. And with the fact that we have a lot of lefties on here, the more lefties that we can get, the better.
We go back to the pitching. Actually, Randazzo is a lefty. Mazer is a righty. I had that mixed up. We go back to D3, Franklin Marshall College player. He's a sophomore, going to be a junior with the Westerners from Sandy Hook, Newtown. He is the tallest player on the roster here. 6'8", right-handed pitcher, 215. Kyle Roach.
He's a Ratch guy, as it is my understanding, and a white guy too. So a Dean White guy, I should say.
I think he played at Immaculate, if I remember. So that'd be good to have him back with Dean. If he's a Ratch guy, he didn't play at Avery Point, right?
Not to my knowledge.
Yeah, so I think he's just a guy that Ratch knew through Dean. And I think he's going to be very big because he's a 6'8" pitcher, which you don't really see these massively tall pitchers. And I know there's one who's going to come in a couple of years who is getting looks to college who I used to play hockey with, who's I think is going to be 7 foot tall. So we're starting to see more taller pitchers in the area. But Kyle Roach, definitely interesting to look depending on his size.
Yeah.
Back down, we go to Tristan Sarconi, a Greenwich native. He is a smart guy because he goes to Dartmouth. So he's got the brains there too. 6'1", 200. He'll be a junior with the Westerners. He is a lefty pitcher.
Yeah, so Sarconi is somebody who we are definitely excited about because he's really shown a lot of improvement in his time at Dartmouth. At least that's what I've understood from Coach Blake McFadden. He's going to come in with light mileage because of the Ivy League season situation. I don't know if you heard, but basically what they're saying is, it's going to be strictly local games, no conference, all that kind of stuff.
So they'll be playing teams up in New Hampshire, from what I understand.
Yeah, and basically Dartmouth doesn't really have a lot of competition around that area, most likely. So
Maine, UNH, and a bunch of other schools in that area.
They don't have a team, but the point is that we think Sarconi is going to be good. He's going to be champing at the bit because this is going to be good opportunity for him to essentially have the college season that was taken away from him.
Now, always every year we talk about innings limits that each guy has. If I assume here, thinking about how Dartmouth didn't play a lot, a bunch of schools who aren't playing, and we go back up and talk about Williams College or Hogan, Sarconi, you think he'll have more time with the Westerners? He'll be one of those guys you'll see the entire two and a half months we'll have with Danbury.
I think he will. That's my personal opinion. It really depends on how things go. I imagine he's going to be keeping himself fresh. during the year, and it's just, I think that without the the arm usage that he would normally get in the spring, it's just going to be more likely than not he's going to be here for us the entire summer.
We go back down. We are down our last two pitchers here on the pitcher list. We got, and by the way, there'll be more players added to the roster most likely once we get down to the season. It always changes from time to time. I remember last year we had a couple of guys who were on the list but did not end up playing for us, and we got some more guys instead. So, the roster is subject to change for those listening and looking at the roster as we talk about the player. But we go back, we go to the ACC now. We go to Boston College, a senior from Tarrytown, New York. Ryan Smith, lefty, 5'10", 175.
Ryan is another bullpen arm. At least that's my understanding. He actually pitched in the Cape Cod League the last season.
2 seasons ago, 2019.
Yeah. And he's somebody who Chris was instrumental in getting. Chris got that BC relationship back up. And, based on the returns that we've gotten from our previous Boston College kids, Emmett Sheehan, Joe Mancini, I'm expecting big things out of Smith. I think he's going to be good for us.
And obviously, you mentioned Emmett Sheehan. Yesterday, 9 punch-outs for Emmett Sheehan. 9 punch-outs for Boston College in their first game of the season. If we'll go to our last pitcher here, we mentioned the school earlier. Georgetown University senior from Hillsborough, California, out of the Big East. Georgetown is the Big East, if I remember correctly. Lefty, 5'11", 185, Angelo Tonis.
Angelo is one of our newest kids. He came to us thanks to Edwin Thompson. Edwin was a relationship that came from Eastern Kentucky, who got the Georgetown job. Edwin spoke very highly of him. If it weren't for the fact that Georgetown right now is kind of in a limbo situation, my understanding is that he would have. There was a lot of big plans for him this spring. D1 Baseball spoke. Made sure to name drop him as well in their Big East preview. And all in all, I think he's going to be. I think he's an NECBL vet too. Actually, believe it or not, he pitched 2019 for Martha's Vineyard.
Right. Yep. I remember. I actually do remember that now. Yeah, he was a guy we saw coming late in games for Martha's Vineyard, and I remember. I think it was one of the doubleheaders at Rogers Park came in. And he absolutely shut the door on the Westerners when he came in. So that's a very interesting arm to have come out of the bullpen. Someone who knows the grind of any NECBL season, who might not have played for the Westerners, but as I mentioned before, how important is it to have now these 8 guys who have played in the NECBL before? Obviously, Angelo, he played for Martha's Vineyard. Much more luxurious there, even though they had to take a boat 21 times. How important is it to have him, who's also got playoff experience in the NECBL?
It is very important to have guys who have NECBL experience because they know what they've done in the NECBL, and they can kind of use that as a means to impart what they've learned and what's the best possible way to succeed in this league. It's good to have that. It's also cool when you get a guy from another team, because you kind of get their perspective on somebody on another team. And in recent years we've kind of we haven't really gotten a lot of outside kids. 2019 we got Sonny Uliana, of course, and Darren Wood.
Who both came from Ocean State, and Sonny was huge for the Westerners.
Oh yeah, that was an absolute steal for us. I think that Sonny was an absolute difference maker and somebody who kept us in the race a lot longer. And
kept it light on the bus. There's no clubhouse really, but on the bus he kept it light for the team. Wearing those crazy tie-dye shirts. And I know Sonny does some sort of like thrift shop outfit with his girlfriend. So I know he's very into that type of stuff. And Sonny's a fun guy who I still talk to this day, who I think is one of the more popular guys we had in the last couple of years.
Yeah, Sonny was also very helpful in us when we were looking at the 2020. We were looking at a kid who was a senior who we wanted before the 2020 season was canceled, he happened to be good friends with a kid who we were looking at, but who ultimately ended up going to Martha. But, obviously that didn't happen. So,
Yeah. All right, so we're done with the pitchers here. We met all of our pitchers right now who are currently on the roster. When we have our newer episodes come out, if there's any roster changes, I will fill in the fans on who they are. But you can also check out the NECBL website for the roster as it is officially there. We go to the catchers now. We got 4 on the roster. We've already gone through 1 in Cam Ceruto. We got a native of Marlborough, New Jersey. He's a freshman right now at Marist College in the Metro Athletic Conference. He's a right-handed hitter, 6'3", 245. So he's a big dude from New Jersey. Justin Kapuscinski.
Yep. And for the record, we will also be doing player profiles on our social media channel, starting in March. So
be on the lookout for that, fans.
Yeah. So definitely look out for that. But going back to Justin Kapuscinski, this was another Chris ad, and he's kid's got a bat. Like, he was the MVP of the summer league that he was playing in last summer, and I think the best way to describe him is strong like bull, basically. Kid's got a bat, built like a tank, and interestingly enough, his brother, Tyler Kapuscinski, was an NECBL guy too. He played in 2018 for the Valley Blue Sox, and I think was an all-star there too.
Well, I think he was an all-star if I remember correctly. So that is Justin Kapuscinski. We now go back to Louisville here. He is another freshman from Louisville. He is going to be a sophomore with the Westerners, as it is stated here. From Orland Park, Illinois. I believe he's the only Illinois native on the Westerners this year. 5'11", 185 catcher, Jack Payton.
There's a lot to like about Jack Payton. I mean, Coach Snyder was very praiseworthy of him. He's got a big league pedigree because his brother Mark made his major league debut last year for the Cincinnati Reds. He's going to be the successor to Henry Davis, who's a first-round draft prospect. Incidentally, Henry was somebody who we had hoped to get with Louisville, but obviously that fell through because Davis just was Cape material from the start. But Jack's got a great bat. Jack's got a hose for an arm. He definitely he's a baseball guy, and I think that he's going to be a great kid when he does get here. And the question is, when is he going to get here? Because Louisville is Louisville.
Yeah, and the same thing happened with Cam Masterman. Obviously, that team went to the College World Series in 2019, and we got Cam a little later. We got Luke Brown, who was a JUCO guy originally. Now he's starting for them. Had a nice little game yesterday as well. Who came a little earlier than Cam, and when Cam came, it really changed. He came about 3 weeks into the season. But going back to our theme of schools that have had former Westerners, we go to the University of Dayton, where Jay Curtis, he'll be one of his catcher battery mates. A junior, going to be a senior from Manahawkin, New Jersey, right-hand batter. So we got 4 right-hand batters out of the catchers here. 6'1", 210, Nolan Watson.
Yeah, so Nolan is a guy that Coach Jason King spoke very well of. Nolan is a catcher. He's also an outfielder. He's got a good arm. It's going to be interesting to see how the spring plays out with him and Jay both behind the plate. And, he strikes me as the type of guy who could be a community guy. I think that he's going to be a tremendous kid, and I think that he's going to be good for our catching rotation.
And we're also staying on the theme of having catchers from the state of New Jersey, because Sonny Leona is a New Jersey native. Now we have 2 more with Kapuscinski and Watson from Marlborough and Manahawkin. So that finishes up the catchers here. We're going to go to the infielders. We're going to do half of them, then we'll have another quick break. And it is we'll start with a Georgia Tech player from the ACC, 5'10", 190. He'll be a sophomore at the Western, so he's currently a freshman from Gainesville, Georgia. Right-hand batter, John Anderson.
John is honestly low-key, I think, is going to be the steal of our recruiting class. because when I learned about him, the kid's a toy cannon, basically. From my understanding, he is consistently hitting the ball at triple-digit exit velocity. He can play around the infield. If it weren't for the fact that Georgia Tech was so stacked as a roster, I would imagine he would probably be starting already. But they already have that strong of a roster, so it'll be interesting to see if and when he gets playing time this spring. But like I said, Anderson was low-key probably one of the best additions I think that we've gotten.
So John Anderson there from Georgia Tech, a very promising player that we have coming in for the Westerners. And we go back, I think we're going Division II here, Northwest Florida State. Another Georgia native, sophomore, Marietta, Georgia native, Luke Boynton.
Luke is actually at a junior college, I should say.
Junior college, all right.
He was originally going to the University of Nebraska, but left for personal reasons.
I do remember seeing his name on last year's roster when he was supposed to come in.
Yeah, but Luke is he's a big bat. He's a big bat. He's a big kid, and I've had the opportunity to get to know Luke. He's a Mets fan, believe it or not, Mets fan from Georgia. Can you believe that?
Yeah.
But Luke is a tremendous kid. I think he's going to be a good. I think as the weather warms up, we're going to see a lot more big flies off his bat because we've already seen one. And when he hits, when he connects, you hear it. You absolutely hear it.
So that is Luke Boynton from Northwest Florida State College, sophomore from Marietta, Georgia. He, by the way, we didn't mention his height and weight. He is 6'6", 235. And we go back here.
Forgot to mention one thing about him. He actually hit more home runs than Bobby Witt Jr. in his senior year of high school.
Wow.
So I think he might have actually led the nation in home runs.
Very interesting there. That is something that you fans have to look forward to here. And he's also looking for a full-time D1 job as well in possibly the future because he's one of those JUCO grinders, as you like to call him that. And we go back to – go ahead, Alex.
I'm sure he'll be back. Maybe he's our next Georgia Tech kid.
Yeah, hopefully, yeah. We go back to Georgetown University here. It is a junior from Gainesville, from Woodbury, Connecticut, rather. We have a couple Gainesville, Georgia natives as I go down the list here, but Woodbury, Connecticut native, William Gursky, right-hand bat, 6'4", 230.
This one's another Chris ad. He was actually recommended to us by somebody who I don't want to reveal who, but he has a very prominent standing in the league. And, basically what my understanding is that, what was told about him was that he's going to be a future pro. He's going to be a great hitter for Georgetown and everything like that. And he actually came as part of the 2020 recruiting class when Pete Witt was head coach. So we got him back before Pete left. And then, like I said, it's good to have him. And he seems to be the type of guy who wants to continually better himself and be a tremendous contributor for us.
And it helps being a local guy too.
And considering the last local Georgetown kid that we had, I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do.
Yeah, that guy had a pretty good season at Cape, if you ask me, in 2019. Eddie McCabe, who is one of the preseason top players in the Big East right now.
Yeah, I'm hoping he gets drafted.
Yeah, I've been waiting for that too. Eddie, really good kid, great family too. So that is William Gursky from Georgetown. Then we go to a pair of players from Stetson University. We'll start with our second native of Gainesville, Georgia, Banks Griffith, right-handed bat from 6'0", 180.
So Banks is an interesting story, actually. He used to play for Furman University, but Furman canceled their program, obviously due to COVID and everything. So he was a late addition to the Stetson roster. Coach Steve Trimper spoke very highly of his defensive prowess. He's a capable hitter too, but he can be plugged around the infield and be a defensive asset, although he's primarily a shortstop. So I'm looking forward to seeing what Banks can do for us in that infield.
And then we go to his teammate from Stetson, a Fort Lauderdale, Florida native, Ryan Guida,
Ryan
6'1",
Gita.
220.
Yep. Ryan Gita's a big boy. He is a big boy. I mean, if you have the opportunity, look him up on YouTube. This kid can hit home runs out of Marlins Park.
Wow.
As Coach Trimper said to me, he is a professional hitter, basically. They're looking at him as a potential as their DH of the future, and he's going to be a big bat for them. And I'm looking forward to, hopefully, he saves a lot of those home runs for Danbury, and maybe he's our home run derby rep.
Yeah, hopefully so. So that will be it for our first half of the position players. When we come back, we'll get the second half of our infielders and our outfield situated, and then we'll call it a day here. We'll be right back here in the Westerners podcast after these messages.
The Danbury Westerners Baseball Club would like to thank all of their fans, sponsors, and volunteers for 25 fun-filled years. They wish that 2020 could have been their 26th, but they're looking forward to seeing everyone at the newly renovated Rogers Park in June and July of 2021. And while you're waiting for baseball to resume, please patronize their sponsors. Pippa Sports Cafe on South Street in Danbury is open for takeout. CT Braces of Danbury and Newtown is available for online consultations. And Ventura Law personal injury attorneys are available to talk about your case 24/7.
Welcome back here to the Danbury Westerners podcast. Christian Gardecki here once again with the Director of Player Personnel for the Danbury Westerners, Alex Giobbi. Alex, we've gone through probably 65% of the roster. We're going to finish it up right here. We're going back here in our infielders to the second half of that. We have 3 more there. Then we have our 4 or 5 outfielders on the list. We're going to go here back to Long Beach State, and that is a Huntington Beach native. He is a freshman now. He'll be a sophomore once we get to the Westerners season. 5'11", righty, 190, Sebastian Murillo.
Sebastian replaces Sebastian is a new kid for us. He is, an incoming freshman. He was originally recruited for the University of Arizona, but went to Long Beach State. He seems like he was pretty highly ranked in Perfect Game, from what I remember. And there's been some recent video of him which has shown that he's like really, really done well this summer. And I'm looking forward to seeing what he does both this spring for Long Beach and hopefully for the summer for us.
So that is Sebastian Murillo from Cal State Long Beach. Next up, we have a switch hitter here, 6'2", 200 infielder from NC Central. Gets another player from that college, where we had a couple the year before. Cary, North Carolina native Cameron Norgren.
Yeah, so Cam comes from a program which is unfortunately closing after this year. But from what I've seen so far in this series against Army, he's a tremendous hitter. He's a good shortstop. Seems to be a good personality too. And North Carolina Central is Chris's relationship, so he knows a lot more about Cam than I do. But from my experience speaking with Cam, he seems like a good kid.
And that is Cam Norgren from North Carolina Central. Brings us another North Carolina Central player. We had Vinny Bailey last year and Tyler Penner, both guys from down south. Another, and our last infielder that we haven't covered, because we got Masafino earlier, is a junior from Cortland Manor, New York. So he's a local-ish guy, about an hour from Danbury. 5'10", 180, plays at Fordham University for the Rams down in the city. Right-handed bat, Zach Sellinger.
Sellinger is somebody who's intriguing. My understanding about him, he's from Kennedy Catholic. I think that's what it was. He has great power from what I've heard. D1 Baseball seems to like him too, because he was one of the top draft prospects in the Atlantic 10 Conference next year, I want to say. And Sellinger can play third base. He's like he's a natural third baseman. So that's going to be good for us, and it's going to be good to have a guy like him on that roster. we've gotten a lot of results out of our out of those Taconic Rangers / Kennedy Catholic kids.
So that's very interesting. Now wrap up our infielders, Zach Sellinger. So just to wrap up here on our infielders, we didn't wrap up with the pitchers. That's too long, though. We'll go back to catchers here. Justin Kaczynski from Marist, Jack Payton from Louisville, Cam Cerruto from Army, Nolan Watson from Dayton, and the infielders got John Anderson from Georgia Tech, Luke Boynton from Northwest Florida State College. We got William Gursky from Georgetown, Stetson Pear, Banks Griffin, Ryan Guida, Cal State Long Beach, Sebastian Murillo, North Carolina Central, Cam Norgren, Fordham's Zach Sellinger, and returning Westerner, Hamilton College senior Matt Zaffino. That is looking at your position players. We'll go to the pitchers after we get done with the outfielders. We'll just run through that quickly, but we'll go to the outfielders. A school we haven't seen for a couple of years, Alex, finally coming back to the Westerners here. We saw a guy who played for us, 2018, played there. School is getting a lot of hype, too, this year, ranked as Yukon Huskies. We got a Vestal, New York native. That's up in the Binghamton area. Left-hand bat, our first left-hand bat here that we've mentioned today out of the outfield. Second, Justin Jordan's a left-hand bat. And Norgren's a switch, as we earlier. But a guy who's 6'2", 220 from the Yukon, Vestal, New York. He's a junior now. He'll be a senior with the Westerners. Connor Harding.
So Connor is actually playing at U Scranton right now.
Okay.
He'll be transferring to Yukon after this year. He's a good hitter. He's somebody who Ratch brought on. So if Ratch thinks that he's going to be good for us, then I'm inclined to believe him. And he's from Vestal. He's from that SUNY Binghamton area. So that's a little interesting tidbit for that. But yeah,
So
I like his bat.
Yeah, very interesting player who's coming from Scranton. So that's Connor Harding, who'll be transferring to UConn after he plays for the Westerners. Justin Jordan, we go back here to a guy from University of North Carolina, Wilmington, one of two natives from Wilton, Connecticut, Dylan Wilfrieri, right-hand bat, 6'0", 210.
Yeah, Dylan is definitely going to be probably one of the more interesting kids on our roster. Because he was out of high school, he was like a top 150 kid, and he started off at Arkansas, then he transferred to San Diego, then after the COVID shutdown he went to North Carolina Wilmington, and in that time he's evolved from a speed guy, contact guy, a slap contact hitter, to a guy with legit power potential. And we are hoping that, this is the year that we finally get to see him play for us.
And now we go to our next guy here. Guy who we got to meet, Alex, you and I got to meet at the photo shoot as well. One of the three players that got to meet there. He's another Wilton native, so we go back-to-back on Wilton natives. Senior from Middlebury College, Henry Stremecki.
Henry is a Middlebury kid, yeah, but he will be transferring to Dayton after this year. So that's now two kids
from Dayton,
three
yep,
kids, I should say, who are going from D3 to D1. Henry's a good kid. My understanding is he's got a good stick on him. Not like a big masher, but he is he's your typical Johnny Ball player. So it'd be good to have a guy like him on that team. And Henry, in my limited interaction with him, I think he really embodies that Westerner philosophy, and I think he's going to be another one of those great community kids too.
Yeah, definitely. If he came out to us for the event at Coastal, and very interesting and very cool to see that he'll be going to Dayton to play for the Flyers. And we got our last player here, unless we have some that are not on the roster that we could have. Another player from Georgia Tech, sophomore from Oxford, Ohio, out towards Miami of Ohio. Hank Thomas, another lefty bat, 6'5", 195.
Yep, Hank was recommended to us by an outgoing Georgia Tech coach, and he's an athlete. He has he's from his high school tape. He can definitely spray the ball. He's got a good arm on him. He's a beanpole of a player. He's pretty skinny, pretty tall. But he seems like the type of guy who, once the Georgia Tech roster opens up a little bit, could be a major contributor for them down the line. So it's going to be great to have a guy like him on that team.
So that will basically wrap it up here. We'll run through the outfielders. We'll kick Connor Harding from UConn, Justin Jordan from Sacred Heart, Dylan Lofrieri from North Carolina Wilmington, Louisville's Cam Masterman, second-year Westerner, Henry Shemecki from Middlebury going to Dayton, and Hank Thomas from Georgia Tech. And we'll go to the pitchers real quick. Christian Gardecki from Bryant, Josh Brown from Houston, Ethan Clow from Long Beach State, Ben De La Belle from the Army, Trinity College's Jamie Fahey, Middlebury's Michael Farinelli, Max Hellman from Sacred Heart, Sean Hogan from Williams, Noah Jensen from Elon, Louisville's Tate Quenner, Bryant's John McDonald, Lemoyne's Jacob Mazer, Michael Randazzo from Bryant, Franklin and Marshall's Kyle Roach, Tristan Sarconi from Dartmouth, Ryan Smith from Boston, Angela Tonis from Georgetown, and returning Westerner, Lemoyne College senior Joe Vale. Alex, is there anyone that we did not see on the list there that you guys will be adding on soon or will be telling to the public? Anyone that was not on the list?
We are not at liberty to discuss anybody who is not on the roster.
All right, and just want to double check there if I forgot anyone or anything. So, Alex, it was a pleasure to have you on, go through the whole roster me for about an hour, which was really fun. Can't wait for the season to start here. We are only about 4 months till the season. Alex, anything you want to say before we hop off here?
All I can say is I'm very excited for this team. While I'm disappointed that can't see any of our guys in person, it's always good to see when they're on when they're on streaming. There's a bunch. We're going to be obviously promoting the hell out of these kids now that their names are out there and they're officially Westerners. So when that does happen, just keep an eye on our Twitter. You'll be seeing a list coming out each weekend of these kids, and you'll also most likely be seeing. We will definitely be trying to really kind of jazz up the enthusiasm for the season and try and just kind of get everybody super excited. Like I said, I can't wait. I'm hoping that I'm looking forward to this season finally happening. And I can't wait. I'm hoping that this is the year that we really go for it all.
And can't wait to have fans back at Rogers Park. Most importantly, hopefully, we'll be seeing a lot of people at Rogers Park. Hopefully this year. Alex, pleasure to talk. Thanks for hopping on here with us and going through our entire roster as it stands right now.
Thank you so much for having me on, Christian. Really looking forward to seeing more of these podcasts come out.
Yeah, and looking forward to catching back up in person once we get closer to the season as well. So that is Westerners Director of Player Personnel, Alex Giobbi, hopping on here. We'll be right back to wrap things up here on the Westerners Podcast. You're listening to Danbury Westerners Podcast on the Westerners YouTube and SoundCloud networks.
The Danbury Westerners Baseball Club would like to thank all of their fans, sponsors, and volunteers for 25 fun-filled years. They wish that 2020 could have been their 26th, but they're looking forward to seeing everyone at the newly renovated Rogers Park in June and July of 2021. And while you're waiting for baseball to resume, please patronize the Westerners sponsors. Charter Oak Brewery on Chilton Rock Road in Danbury is open for takeout. Images, fine printing of Brookfield will help your business cope with new ways of doing business. And the Pickle Law Firm personal injury and divorce attorneys are available to talk about your case right now.
Thanks once again to Alex Giobbi for coming on the Danbury Westerners podcast here. We talked for a good hour about the future of the team, what we got coming in, and one of our players. A lot of our players are starting to play now, too, here, as a lot of our former players and our current players. But obviously this is about the future of the Westerners. Let's go through some of the guys who played this past weekend here. Cam Masterman, also after we recorded in the morning, this morning on Sunday when we recorded the second half of this episode, Cam hit another home run today in Louisville's win over Bellarmine today. And it was a lot. A lot of our players played. Randy Polonia of the 2016 team played for UConn on Saturday. Cam Masterman and Tate Quenner, who we just talked about before, played. Jay Curtis and Dayton. A couple other Westerners were coming into the team. They played against South Carolina. Caleb Upshaw, Nick Borick at Eastern Kentucky played against a couple of our future players at Georgia Tech. Justin Campbell from Tulane played for the Westerners in 2019. He played against Louisiana with his Tulane Wave. Jake Wilson, 2017 Westerner, Liberty versus Campbell. He plays for Liberty. And Brian Rodriguez, B-Rod, 2-year Westerner, 18-19 in the game against Wake Forest. And Tyler Jones, another Western we did forget originally that Bill forgot to mention, played in the Dayton, South Carolina game. And then earlier in the week, Vito Morgese started for Bryant in their game, and Luke Brown also played in the Louisville game as well. We forgot about him. So a lot of our players going around, and that's the type of thing that we have coming with the Westerners is all these guys are going to bigger and better things. Obviously, this year we had our 23rd former Westerner go to the major leagues this year. Vamale McKean with the Oakland Athletics as the spring training starts this week. Hopefully we'll see some more guys go up with the new minor league baseball system we got. Guys we playing all over the place, like Coco Montez on the 2016 team, David Villar from the 2016 team. Coco, we might see him in Hartford in a year or two in the Rockies organization. And, of course, their AA affiliate is here in Connecticut with the Hartford Yard Goats. We'll keep an eye out on all of our former players and where they're going, and we'll keep an update. Obviously, with today's episode being a very special episode of the new roster, no alumni spotlight today. Kind of just give you a little mini alumni spotlight and a bunch of guys. So that is basically it for today. It's been a lot of fun here on the third episode. We are getting closer to opening day. Right now, June 2nd is the slated opening day, according to the NECBL site. Some other teams have said that they will be playing this year. Keene, Vermont, Laconia, they're all going to be in, and so are the Westerners. You heard it here, official from Alex Giobbi, from the word of Chris Nathanson, our general manager. I'd like to thank Chris Nathanson for helping us set up the interview with Alex and getting this underway. I'd like to say welcome officially to Danbury, well, virtually, to all of our new players who we announced here today on the podcast. Can't wait to meet you guys in person soon as we get set for the 26th season of Danbury Westerners baseball. I'd like to thank again Bill Geider, Director of Public Relations for the Danbury Westerners, and the President of the Danbury Westerners, John Pitzer, as well, and President Emeritus, Paul Schaefer, for all of their support with us here on the podcast. Well, that will officially do it for us here. We are hitting the hour and 15-minute mark almost here on the Westerners podcast. It's been fun here for episode 3. Make sure you follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Give us a like or subscribe on YouTube. Give us a follow and a like on our SoundCloud channel. And we hope to give you more episodes for the season start. Some plans we have coming for the season. Hopefully a pregame show on our broadcast on the NECBL Broadcast Network with myself and Sam Solzinski, the two voices of the Danbury Westerners this coming year. Well, signing off officially here on the Westerners podcast, Christian Gardecki here. We thank you very much for listening. We hope to see you soon at Rogers Park.
The Danbury Westerners Baseball Club would like to thank all of their fans, sponsors, and volunteers for 25 fun-filled years. They wish that 2020 could have been their 26th, but they're looking forward to seeing everyone at the newly renovated Rogers Park in June and July of 2021. And while you're waiting for baseball to resume, please patronize the Westerners sponsors. Charter Road Brewery on Chilton Rock Road in Danbury is open for takeout. Images Fine Printing of Brookfield will help your business cope with new ways of doing business. And the Pickle Law Firm personal injury and divorce attorneys are available to talk about your case right now.